Hey everyone, Tuck here, and this year is the 50th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I thought, you know what? I think it'd be fun to take a look at some lost media around this movie, because there's a lot, and it's surprising. So let's begin.
Breaking out! Breaking out! Breaking out!
So for starters, we have Rocky Horror shows his heels. Now, this movie was actually in development right after the Rocky Horror Picture Show. The date on the script says it's from 1978, but this movie wasn't made, obviously. And personally, I'm glad it wasn't. So the plot begins with starting with the song Breaking Out, where Rocky, presumably after the aftermath of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, is trying to find Frankenfurter, and he does. And he's just a little sad. After that, Brad and Janet sing the song Bitchin' in the Kitchen because Brad and Janet just aren't working out together because, and I quote from a random summary I found and a weird pseudo script Google Doc I found, Brad caught the gay. So then Brad visits Dr. Scott and we see that Dr. Scott is with Rocky and they have a goal of trying to bring back Dr. Frankenfurter because Rocky is sad. Meanwhile, Janet goes back to her parents. Janet is pregnant with Brad's kid. Well, not exactly. We thought it was, but it turns out they may not know it's Brad's kid. Actually, it could be Rocky's or Frankenfurter's kid, actually. So Janet's parents are shocked, and the dad sings the song, Thank God I'm a Man, after learning about Brad's homosexuality. I'm getting some weird undertones in this script. I'm going to talk about more after this section's done. Brad and Scott figure out how to bring Dr. Frankenfurter back to life, but in order to do though, they need to do some electroshock therapy. So that's where the song Shock Treatment comes in. I'm going to get to the songs and what I'm feeling about it after. Now, Frank is happy that he is back to life now, and all for it, they decide that Frankenfurter is going to hold a party in Denton to help celebrate his rebirth. But before they do that, Frank sings the song Little Black Dress just to help get them in the mood and also give them some nice costumes for his big old rebirth party. And after that, Frankenfurter learns that he's going to have a kid. So then he sings the song I'm going to see my baby. If you could tell by the song choices that they're all using, I'll tell you what I'm going to see my baby is after this section still. Don't worry. So they all arrive at the hospital and they see Janet gave birth to a boy, and Frank quickly says it's his. Matter of fact, in that pseudo script deal, Frank just kind of dubs him Charles Atlas already. Okay. And funny enough, at the very end of the scene, Frank comes back on screen. So like it cuts to black, then Frank comes back on screen, be like, oh, by the way, it's a costume party. Okay. Frank starts walking down this one street, and then a jukebox in a bar reminds him of Eddie somehow. Because, weirdly enough, Columbia's in this movie too, as a spirit. Like, that's all Columbia is. Like, Columbia's like a pseudo ghost spirit that just kind of says stuff. And so, after this happens, the song He Lived and Died for Rock and Roll, I'll tell you what the song is later. And then Frank suddenly collapses. That is because Frankenfurter, when he was reborn, they used like bits of blood from Brad and Dr. Scott. So because of that, Frankenfurter needs 11 pints of virgin blood. Remember that virgin blood part. So then Brad sings looking for a trade while he tries to find some boys that would give him some virgin blood. Turns out they were just very willingly to, because Brad said it was for an alien celebrity. So earlier in the script, before I continue on, weirdly enough, Dr. Frankenfurter had like some weird type of like spell thing where Frankenfurter just, to quote this pseudo script, I'll even show up a picture, has been touched by the gayness. And so after that, now Janet's mom and dad and a policeman and a hospital nurse all get converted to the Transylvanian lifestyle because of Dr. Frankenfurter, aka they've been touched by the gayness, Janet has been touched by the gayness too, but it explains in that pseudo script she was already touched by the gayness, so there's no more gay she can get. Oh, God. And then they sing Look What I Did to My Id. So then, because of that, everyone in Denton all comes to Frank's party, and they all sing You're Looking at an Ace. Janet arrives at the party to tell her that the baby is dead. Yeah, baby just died somehow. So Frankenfurter's mad, and there's two like ghostly figures that are just off in the distance. Frank is mad at that party, and they go to the two ghosts and like takes off these weird little ghost costumes, and it's Riff Raff and Magenta. And so Riff Raff and Dr. Frankenfurter sing the song Dual Duet. Frankenfurter starts to decompose because Brad accidentally didn't get a virgin's blood. Brad got a bunch of virgin's blood, but one of the virgins he's got had the word virgin used pretty loosely. So then Frankenfurter starts to decompose. After that, everyone tries to escape. Riff Raff, Magenta, and Janet all leave, and I'm going to go into like the pseudo Google Doc script that I have says there's two different endings, which I'll go into more why that concerns me a bit after this section's done. That you leave, and it says that the baby is clearly Frank's, which is weird because that pseudo script says that the baby's clearly Rocky. And also it specifies that there's two separate endings, a US ending and a UK ending, which is weird because that's not something you would put in a script. That's more of an editing deal. But it says in this UK ending, all the town folk except for Riff Raff, Magenta, and Janet and the baby all sing the song Anyhow, Anyhow. They all want to have sex. They're having an orgy.
Woo!
So this confuses me a little. Because you may not know this, all these songs are in the movie Shock Treatment. That is the actual sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Shock Treatment. Like, they're all the songs there. Except the ones that have weird titles. I'm Going to See My Baby was reworked in Shock Treatment to the song Me of Me. And He Lived and Died for Rock and Roll is, I forgot what it's called. I know it's like the bedtime song. So I don't know if it's actually like, I know it's not called the bedtime song, but I think it's like Sleepy Time or something. I'll put it up on the screen. Whatever it is, this baffles me because a summary I've read and a pseudo script I read, one has weird grammar choices and has odd ideas on how the characters work, especially by like the summary I read, Frankenfurter turns them into the Transylvanian lifestyle. But the pseudo script I read kind of just says he turned them into the gay by touching them with the gayness. And, you know, frankly, if I were to just read that right now, I would say this isn't real. The only problem is there's actually a credible source. So Richard O'Brien, when he sent the pseudo first draft style script, he also sent a 1-hour cassette tape with all the song demos. And there's a review of it, which by all accounts proves that this was real.
Breaking out! Breaking out!
If this was made, I believe this would do irreversible harm to the LGBTQ plus community. Personally for me, coming as a straight man, I will say this oddly seems not satirical, but a bit dangerous. And there's people out there that already don't like the Rocky Horror Picture Show because they believe that was actually doing harm to the LGBTQ plus communities. This movie just specifies that Brad wants to be cured of the gay. Frankenfurter, there's like a quick little line of Frankenfurter's like, you don't need to be cured. I just helped you figure out that you're actually gay. You just need a push. And I'm like, I guess that's a nice message, but it's kind of not brought up again. And then all the other characters in the movie, when they're turned into like the Transylvanian lifestyle, at least in the pseudo draft, it's kind of specified that it's Dr. Frankenfurter's power that makes them gay, essentially. Which to me is a little hurtful to hear. It's like, oh, well, you told Brad, it's like, Brad, I didn't turn you gay. You had that thought in your mind this whole time. I just helped you bring it out. But in this movie, then it goes a complete 180. It's like, oh, but also I have the gay beam. So it's like, that's a bit of like a 2-message system. And to me, I don't know if that's good. But I will say this. I don't know how much of this is real. The script has never leaked online. all we have here is just like pseudo drafts. There's like pseudo drafts and a Google Doc that is questionable because it says there's a US ending and then a UK ending, which to me makes no sense because that stuff wouldn't be put in the draft. Like, if there was going to be an ending with more in it, then it would just be like the UK ending. For example, like in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, the movie ends with the song Superheroes. But in the US version, they cut out superheroes, but the script would have superheroes in it. So because of that, like, I don't think the script would have a US ending, UK ending. But hey, this movie has got a little reworked into another project called The Brad and Janet Show. I'm going to talk about that movie a different day because that was then turned into Shock Treatment. In my opinion, just a better movie altogether than this. Yeah, I'm glad this movie wasn't made. The actual reason was Tim Curry didn't want to reprise the role of Dr. Frankenfurter, just kind of stating that he didn't want to play the role again, which I guess that's good. But, you know, for me, it would be like, this kind of sounds a little homophobic a bit. Like, this script is a little homophobic. Obviously, I don't know, like, how people in the LGBTQ plus community would think about this. So, like, if you don't think this sounds homophobic, please leave a comment below. Like, I actually want to know about your opinions on this because to me, it's like, this seems a little dangerous, but I would actually be happy to hear, like, what would other people think about it. Here we have Revenge of the Old Queen. So the plot starts out how it's been a decade and a half since the last events of Rocky Horror Picture Show, essentially making Shock Treatment non-canon. We see that on the planet of Transsexual in the galaxy of Transylvania, Riff Raff is mourning over his dead sister, Magenta. I don't know why they keep trying to kill off characters, but okay. And it is kind of specified that Riff Raff may have killed her over a possible affair she had with a character named Lord de Lordy, who was the second in line for royalty on Transsexual. After that scene, we see that the old queen, the royalty of Transsexual, has asked Riff Raff to go back to Earth because she wants Frankenfurter back. She doesn't know Frank's dead, mostly because Riff Raff never told her. So the old queen doesn't know Frankenfurter's dead, and Riff Raff's been told to go back to Earth to go bring Frank back. After that, on Earth, Steve Majors, the brother of Brad Majors, who is part of the Bureau of Investigation into UFOs, realizes after reading a file called The Denton Affair, learns that the Rocky Horror Picture Show was based off real events. It's kind of specified that Brad made the musical after what he's experienced. I guess. I really guess then. This leads into the song The Moon-Drenched Shores of Transylvania, which is the only song that has been leaked online. While driving to Fresco, Steve's followed by an agent named Judy. They both know each other from the Denton High School, where they both begin the investigation on trying to find the Transylvanians still on Earth, until Judy is accidentally transported to Transylvania as Riff Raff is teleported to Earth. And they said there's like a funny joke that Riff Raff's in the shower because that's where she was, and so like his hair gets all wet. Haha, very funny. But once Judy arrives in Transylvania, she is met up with Lord de Lordy, and they both just fall in love. At Fresno, Riff Raff's been alerted that Steve's coming over thanks to a phone call from an agent, where Riff Raff actually tricks the agent to making Steve believe that's Judy's brother George. Riff Raff's able to get back to Denton only to discover that where the castle was now a new housing development called Happy Homes. So then he stops by at a Holiday Inn, who meets up with Jan, who they can't tell each other apart. Like, they don't know who each other are. I think it's specified that Janet's just so out of her mind, I think. So, borderline cameo. Brad's not here because Brad is dead. Yeah, that's something I should have probably mentioned a little bit sooner. Brad is dead in this. Riff Raff is able to teleport to the past, thanks to the transducer, from the first movie. So then Steve tries to figure out how to utilize the transducer just so he can also go back to the past. By his side are characters named Ray, Mary Lou, Sonny, and Lordy Lordy and Judy, who are all on the run from the old queen after being accused of sedition. They all go into the transducer and they're all able to make it back in time. So this pseudo last scene is right before Riff Raff kills Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but also it's like set outside. So they're all just fighting each other. Riff is able to kill Lordy, and Judy, and the house takes off, just like in the movie. This is before learning that Sonny's adopted father, his real parents, are actually Janet and Frankenfurter, making him the next line for the Transylvanian throne. The old queen's dead now. Riff Raff pledges allegiance to Sonny. Everyone's happy in Transylvania, and that's just it. So, to me, I don't enjoy this script too much because, again, we keep killing off all these characters and taking out certain characters, and then this weird feeling of trying to invoke the return of the Rocky Horror Picture Show by now just stating that the movie exists not only as like events that happened in the movie, but as Brad made it into a movie, which is weird. And it's also weird only one song from this is leaked when there's a full-on soundtrack. Now, Richard O'Brien leaked, I can't say leaked, he released the script because he said on like a message board when he released the script, it's not like Rocky Horror Picture Show Shock Treatment where there's a movie existing, so it doesn't really matter that much. To him, he saw it more as, this movie isn't made, but it's really not going to be made, so there's really no point. Which, fair point. I guess, like, for me, I think it makes more sense. Try not to keep pushing the Rocky Horror Picture Show sequel, especially if you're not really going to start being able to get everyone back. Like, Shock Treatment kind of proved it best. Like, when you couldn't even get the actors for Brad and Janet back, that should tell you maybe Rocky Horror sequels aren't the best option. So this is the final piece of Rocky Horror Lost Media. It has been dubbed Rocky Horror: The Second Coming. The only reason I say it's been dubbed that is because there is no actual title. The only reason that people know about it is that Richard O'Brien talked about it in 2001 during a Rocky Horror convention, where he said he was going to make a staged production sequel of the Rocky Horror Show. So this will be the first event, the first time that's not a sequel to the movie, it's a sequel to the production, the musical, The Rocky Horror Show, with Richard saying that if this production was successful, then they'd make it into a movie. I'll have my thoughts on it after. But the plot goes that's going to be set 9 months after Rocky Horror Show, and we figured out that Janet is carrying either Frank or Rocky's child. It's, just like Rocky Horror Shows his heels, but weirdly enough, it also specifies that it's still uncanon to Shock Treatment. It's like, yeah, I get that. But it's taking elements from Rocky Horror Shows his heel and Revenge of the Old Queen, because like how with Rocky Horror Shows his heels, they kind of used all the songs and put it into like Shock Treatment, well, the Brad and Janet Show, then the Shock Treatment. This, supposedly a song leaked online. It's called Frankie Phoenix, and that was the song that essentially revive Dr. Frankenfurter. So to me, I'm surprised that Richard didn't just reuse the songs from Revenge of the Old Queen, because he was able to do that for the previous one. But besides that fact, there is no actual script made, mostly because I don't know how far he got into it, because this movie has been like a production nightmare. It was never going to be made. Obviously, now we know it's never going to get made. And, because of that, I think it's fine. And so, that is it for all the lost media I could find of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Tell me what you think. Do you wish these older versions were to come to life? Do you wish that some of these sequels would have actually appeared? For me, personally, no. Like I stated in a lot of this stuff, these movies, weirdly enough, have weird trying to do callbacks to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where they outright just ruin some of the characters, and also with some harmful messages I think that would have occurred for this. I think it would have been better. I think it was for the better that these were never made. But tell me, what do you think? Comment down below to say, hey, Tucker, I actually think these movies should have been made. Or, Tucker, I agree with you. these movies definitely should not have been made. Or like you wish one or the other was made. But hey, comment down below. If you like this video, I actually made a video a couple years ago about an issue I have with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So go watch that next if you want to. But till then, I'll see you next time. Tucker out.